We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity and the powerful video library. Hopefully, you all got a chance to watch today's video, which is from the infamous movie The Karate Kid. But it all interconnects with the rest. And so, if you haven't gone through the rest of the discussions on these, so you just go in and if you haven't watched the discussion, for the discussion, it's where the magic is, I think. Like, what did you see, in the movie or in the video clip? What did you see in the video clip? What did it mean to you? And so we've gone through happiness and the crazy dancing man and the founder, and then just stop it, and then procrastination, and then, the attentiveness and what we see, and then our life vision, and then and then discovering our life vision, and then the theory of stupidity by Bonhoeffer, and then the nail in the head. And so today we're doing the Karate Kid. Ken, what did you see in this video?
I saw that Daniel had to completely, what was required of the instructor is complete following the instructor. So you got to trust the instructor in a crazy way, I think. That's one thing. Another thing, it's like the instructor basically, they show one time when he comes back and corrects what Daniel's doing. How long had Daniel been doing the wrong thing? He could have been doing it for, like, it was dark out, so he could have been doing this wrong for like 8 hours, and the instructor comes back and somehow tells him to do it, but doesn't tell him anything. Yeah, it seems like there's a better way to do it.
How many of you saw that?
What's that?
How many of you saw what Ken saw?
I saw it at nighttime, and that he come back and he's, no, you're doing it this way.
So you saw it too. Yeah. And so you wondered, well, that seems inefficient. Like, that seems like it's probably not the best thing to do. And so, good. I saw that same thing. Elaine, what did you see when you watched it?
It kind of confused me a little bit because I wasn't sure why, like where he was going with it, but he did tell him right at first that he has to wax it this way and then wipe it off that way. So he initially told him, but the boy just didn't listen.
Yeah, and if you didn't watch the movie, you don't have context. And so Daniel got beat up, and so he was learning martial arts. And so yeah, if you didn't watch the whole movie, then you don't see the context and the importance and some of the different nuances. So excellent. Anybody else have thoughts?
I had the thought that he just got his butt kicked, and so he's very motivated to, what other options does he have? So he's probably willing to follow Mr. Miyagi, because what other options does he have? He's just going to get his butt kicked again if he doesn't follow his. So plus he's like got no life, so it's like, what else is he going to do?
So Ken's not saying, I just want to make sure I want to make sure that nobody misunderstands what Ken's saying. All right. So sometimes Ken might not communicate in the clearest way from my perspective, and you can pick up things that he's not saying. And I don't want you going around saying stuff, because he's my brother. I'm protective of him. He's my younger brother. So I'm very protective of him. And so he's not saying that you go after losers in life. He's not saying that. He did not say And if you pick that up, well, I don't know what to tell you. I guess if you pick that up, oops, we dropped him. So if you pick that up, I guess the only thing I have to say is you got to talk to me. Because man, I'm gonna like you. I'm gonna like you a lot. So anybody else? Oh, he's down for the
Yeah.
count. Go ahead.
I think when I was watching it, I'm thinking sometimes you have to do things you don't understand to get the results that you're looking for. And sometimes it's hard.
Interesting. For you,
My question is,
yeah, go ahead.
my question is, the coach told him to do it one way and he did it another way. Did the product come out the exact same way? Or why was his reason to do it one way?
Right. And if you watch the movie, then you'll see it. So in martial arts, it's blocking. So what he's doing is he's building reflexes to go ahead and block an opponent's kick or punch. And so it needs to be done that way. It's the fastest, most efficient way to do it. So he didn't explain why he's doing it. Now, I just want to make sure, well, Ken wants to make sure that nobody misunderstands me because he and I have each other's back big time. And so Ken is not saying anything. Ken wants to point out Mark's not saying anything negative about women or moms. Like he wants to make sure, because sometimes women and moms, are a little bit defensive around me. And so Ken wants to make sure nobody's hearing me say that, sometimes moms explain things a lot, and that doesn't serve the child well in life. Like I didn't say that. I did not say that. So if you're hearing that, I guess you do the same thing. Talk to Ken. So like, I don't know what to tell you. So, well, hi, honey.
Papa.
Hi, sweetheart.
We're not going on a adventure with you.
You're going on an adventure with me?
We're not going.
She's been asking all morning if we can go on an adventure with Grandpa, and I said that we can go on one tomorrow. So that's why she wants to do it.
Can you bring a Band-Aid over?
Okay,
We go on the adventure together. I want a Band-Aid like you have on your head. Yeah. And definitely we don't want to go ahead and give your sister a machete. Wow. Another story for another time. Sometime we're going on an adventure tomorrow, for sure.
We're going on an adventure with you.
We will go on an adventure. Yes. And so this is the thing that's hard in leadership is, do you explain to people why they're doing things? So this is not the podcast for marriages, but my wife is on. This is one of the frustrations I've had for 6 years of parenting when we're married, is my wife seems to go ahead and explain a lot of things to the kids and to the grandchildren. And it's very interesting to observe the dynamics of that. Questions?
By dynamics, what do you mean?
That many or all of the children, the grandchildren, and how they interact, it like gives her, it gives them the impression that they are equal with grandma. And if they
Okay.
can come up with a superior reason why grandma's explanation doesn't make sense, they will argue with her. They will debate her. They will go ahead and come up with, she's giving reasons why to do things and they give reasons why not to do things. So there's this conversation discussion. This does not happen so much with grandpa. It just doesn't. Now, does grandma go ahead and tell them more to do than grandpa? Maybe. Should she? I don't know. I'd never, ever, you women who know me, I would never, ever tell a woman how to be a mother or a grandmother. I just wouldn't. You know, it is curious to me on how much discussion there is. And there's not, so me, I try with the grandchildren again. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is a better way. To me, it seems like it works. And so I try to tell the grandkids as little to do as possible. I'm not their mom and dad. So I don't want to correct them any more than I need to. I want to, in an ideal dream world, I just obey your mom and dad. Like let mom and dad take the hits on everything. And then, at least at 2 years old, they're jumping on and they just want an adventure with me. This is what I want with my grandkids. I don't want to correct them. I don't want to parent them. I just don't. I want to support the parents and say, obey your parents. Like just obey your parents. It's pretty simple. But if grandpa says something, he means it all the time, 100% of the time. Like 100% of the time, if grandpa tells you do something, it's not counting up to 3 or 5 or telling you 2, 3 times. It's simple. Grandpa says something once and you do it. You do it. And grandpa then will respect you and he's going to go ahead and seek to tell you as little as possible and enjoy you as much as possible. And so as they get older, they seem to go ahead and be more willing to confront grandma. If grandpa's around, this is a very dangerous thing for the grandchildren, especially the boys, to do. Because then it shifts into a different role where you're not respecting a woman, you're not respecting my wife, you don't respect women, you don't respect my wife. This is not going to go well for you as a young man. It's just not. Grandpa will go ahead and take you down so hard. Somehow it might be you don't get to go fishing in grandpa's pond. You don't get to have fun. You don't get to have adventures. I'm not going to have adventures and have fun with boys who mistreat women. You mistreat my wife. You mistreat your mother. You mistreat women, and life is not going to be fun for you. And so, so there's wisdom, like there's times to explain things and there's times not to explain. And if you ask me, how do you know the difference? I'd say, I don't know. I'm only 60 years old. I haven't figured that out yet. But I understand conceptually that. Other thoughts on this here, on the video here.
I have a thought.
Yep.
So if you're telling them exactly what to do, how do they think for themselves? How do they learn to do that?
Luke is teasing and taunting me right now. Luke, do you know you're teasing and taunting me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I love it. Ooh. How good of a listener are you, Luke?
I like to think I'm okay, but probably not.
Okay. Are you taking notes like you wanted that one gentleman to take notes when you were giving them instructions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. If you look at your notes, did you go ahead and here when I said I try to give my grandkids as little instruction, as little direction as possible, where I allow them to think through things as much as possible.
I guess I was thinking that was more of a grandpa role, whereas I'm trying to apply this more to even a parenting role or like this example, which I mean maybe he could be the guy's grandpa, but
Yeah. So I have that same rule. It's just stronger as a grandpa, but as a dad, it's the same thing. I want my kids to make decisions and I want to teach them how to be critical thinkers. So one of the things I've observed, like we're in Amish country, and so it's the coolest thing to see. I don't know, a 6-year-old. To me, it's cool to see a 6-year-old running a mower, and he can barely reach the top. I mean, I'm like, holy cow! I wish I could raise my kids Amish. I really do. But it was interesting. We went over with Ginger Ann's kids to Orleans and Doreen's, and Michael, Michael, he's not 2 yet, so he's 1.5 or something. That little guy, he's kind of crazy. He'll go out in the streets, he'll go out in the ponds, he'll do it's like he's terrifying to be around. And so one of their daughters, I don't know, she's probably 8 or 9, she came in and asked if she could take him out. And I explained to her that my grandkids are not, my grandkids are not Amish. I explained that to Kenny too when he took Daniel and Trevor out on the boat or when they're swimming in the pond. And it was funny because Orland said to his daughter, yeah, Mark doesn't want, Michael to get hurt or something. He says, yeah, don't let him get hurt. I'm like, oh, I'm fine with him getting hurt. Like, broken arm, yeah, I prefer not, but that happens, right? People learn. My concern is not him getting hurt. I'm fine with him getting hurt. That's a part of life. I think that's a great thing. I don't want him dying. I don't want him being mean, paralyzed. Like, I don't want something like that. And so I think with adult children, Luke, that's maybe, I'm sure, what you're probably talking about. Man, I'm new to that world. I mean, I am. I've been there for, I don't know, 16 years-ish. I haven't figured that out. Like Orland, he's, starting, we're working together, he and I. Pretty much, I want him to see this, and for the first period of time, do what I tell you to do, what I tell you to do, when I tell you to do, how to do it with a great attitude. It's really simple. Like, and then there's a commitment, a vow. Like, there's so much that I have to teach him, and there's so much dependent upon him. He's got 7 kids. He wants to get free from his job. He wants to start his own company. So do what I tell you to do, when I tell you to do, how I tell you to do with a great attitude. It's just really simple. And that's what you do. And that's what this movie, I think, is so apt. If you don't go ahead I think it's really hard to trust him. So like when you're being mentored, especially if you're 2 or 3 levels above the person. So a dad is 1 level above, the son. He's a man, they're a son. He'll always be, well, theoretically, always be a level above it. A grandfather theoretically is 2 levels above the grandson. So understanding, being a boy, but understanding being a man. Now, a great grandfather is 3 levels. And so I don't know. It's complicated. It's just hard. And so like, and I see this a lot. Like Daniel, he's not trusting. He thinks he's doing it for his own, like Augie's, he's gaining benefit. Like I'm cleaning all of his cars and he's gaining all the benefit. I'm not gaining anything. He's taking advantage of me. He's taking advantage of me. And that's what he's thinking. He's taking advantage of me. And I see that a lot with young men. They think that, older men are taking advantage of them. The thing that's frustrating to me, probably the most, is not that they think that, because I get that. You think you're giving me benefit. You have no idea as to the benefit you're gaining from it. None whatsoever. So I get that. So that doesn't frustrate me. That's just a part of life. So how do I help them understand the real value they're gaining? Tom Coon said, when he worked for Century 21, he was young and brand new. He had a goal of being the president. So I'm guessing he's in his 20s or 30s. And he had a goal of being president of the largest real estate franchise in the world. And he was smart. Like Tom's got this super smart intelligence, did as a young man. And so he looked around and he saw, and he tried to find the most successful person in the company. And he found the person that everybody was talking about, went to that person and said, "What's your secret for success?" And the guy's, "What do you mean?" "Well, everybody thinks the world of you. What do you think?" And the guy looked at him and laughed. He said, "Claim unclaimed territory." And Tom's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Look for things that nobody else is doing and then do those things." He said, "You might not get rewarded, might not get more pay. You might not even get recognized for it. You might think you have no benefit for it, but you will." And Tom says it's probably the number one thing that got him to achieve his goal many, many years later as being president of the largest real estate franchise in the world. He had a goal and he went after it and he was smart about doing it. The thing that frustrates me a lot is it seems like that older men do take advantage a lot of younger men. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to process that other than let's have an honest conversation. Let's have an adult conversation. If you think I'm taking advantage of you, let's have an honest conversation about it. Other thoughts or follow up on that, Luke?
No.
Anybody else have any other thoughts or questions on this?
I like where he said, or he mentioned, we walk on the right side of the road or the left side of the road. We walk in the middle, you die. It's like you don't
Like a grape.
yeah.
Right.
You don't do you're gonna do karate or you're not gonna do karate. You don't do karate maybe.
That's like being a business owner. Business owner, be an out. Don't be in the middle. Be like a grape. That's like being a husband. Be a husband, don't be a husband. Don't be in the middle. Like, be a father. Like, be a father. Like, be a father, don't be a father. Don't be in the middle. You get squashed like a grape. So, this is what's interesting is like I told Elaine, I think it was over a year ago, I said, "Elaine, you're far more powerful than I am." And she's like, "Oh, I don't know about that." I said, and people, people will listen to you more than me. And she kind of laughed and giggled. And I don't see that. Like, it'll happen. Like, then she questioned me. I always like when that happens. People tease and taunt me, think I don't know. She's like, and she kind of laughed and she said, and again, Ken wants to make sure no women are misunderstanding. I'm not saying that women in general or all the time don't listen to men. I'm not saying that or think they know a lot more about things than men. I'm not saying any of that. For sure, I'm not. But Elaine says, I don't, Amish men. So she thought maybe that she knew Amish men better than I knew Amish men. And maybe not. I mean, maybe not. So more and more Amish men are listening to her. They just are. And that's a wise thing. If they don't listen to her, squash.
Mark, you gotta have that sound effect to add it, make it to the make it more effective.
Gotcha. Take it. Make it great. Like, I mean, it's hilarious. It's so fun to be at Coffee Connections. Like, it's so fun to be at Coffee Connections. If you're, man, you got to be there. Like, and watch Elaine. Watch her closely, especially if you're interacting with me, because you can just tell you're gonna get squashed like a grape. Like, you can look at her facial expressions, and I mean, if you like getting squashed like a grape, then embrace it. But she is so dead on. She knows exactly what's going to happen in triggering me to go ahead and shift my energy and squash you like a grape. So these things, like, share this with other people. Like, do you not have any friends, for crying out loud? And if you don't have any friends, I got an abundance of them, and I'd be more than happy to give a lot of my friends to you. Like, I'd be happy to do that. So watch these things, watch these things, and then share them with other people that you know. Like, and then have a conversation. You can agree, disagree, whatever you want to do, but share these with other people, because the real magic is in the conversation. I mean, the videos are fun, funny, insightful, whatever, but the community, the conversation, to see different people's perspective, that's where it's magical. If you're not participating in the podcast for passion, oh my goodness, like that one may be more powerful than this one even. And it seems like it's a secret society where if you don't participate in the podcast, then people won't share with you about it. So always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.